GreyWolf Towers again. My name is Brian. So today's video we're going to be getting back to some of the classic types of videos. Today we're doing a unboxing on a graphics card or a GPU. This is going to be on the GeForce RTX 4070 Super. Now I've not unboxed one of these yet because I haven't actually purchased one until the day before yesterday. This is the PNY brand. I'm not a huge fan of PNY. They're a great card as far as dependability and reliability, but they don't tend to overclock the card as high as some of the other brands like Gigabyte, MSI, etc. With the PNY brand, as well as with Zotac, they tend to be a lower overclock. They are still better than, say, a Founders Edition out of the box, but they're usually not as high of a binning as the Founders Edition, which is done by NVIDIA. They bin theirs specifically for that, which I think kind of sucks because theirs is like the least attractive of all of the designs in my opinion. And yet if you want the higher quality silicon, you have to get one of theirs. My personal machine, it runs the 4080 Super from Gigabyte that I've done a video on. This is a PNY card. I've been debating which way to go with using this, whether to sell it again, whether to put it into a build and sell the build, or whether to side grade my wife, which would be basically, she's got my old RX 6950 XT, which has 16 gigs of VRAM, but in games performs about the same as the 4070 Super, give or take a couple of frames depending on the game that it's playing. Whereas this only has 12 gigs of VRAM, which does kind of suck. If I'd been able to, I would have grabbed a 4070 Ti Super, but the only place I was able to actually get a RTX 4070 Super for less than 600 bucks before tax was at my local Walmart, believe it or not. The normal sites like Amazon and Newegg were either completely sold out or being scalped of almost any 4070, 4070 Super, 4070 Ti, 4070 Ti Super, 4080, 4080 Super, and 4090. They did have some that were being scalped, and I believe they've gotten a restock since then for a couple of them, but not all of the card models, and some of those have already been purchased out and being scalped again. This is, again though, the PNY RTX 4070 Super. It is a lot smaller than I thought it would be. I thought the box itself would be larger. It is supposed to be a 3-fan card. It does have RGB across the middle section of the fans. And then up on the top over here that you can't see because of the angle of the card, it's supposed to say XLR8, which is the fact that it's an Accelerate model from PNY. That's their brand, their logo of it. And then it's got like RTX over here. The XLR8 is supposed to be RGB. The RTX or GeForce logo area over here is not. But it is supposed to also have a metal backplate if I remember correctly. But we'll take a look and see whether it's plastic or metal when we do it. It is a nice looking card from what I've seen. It just will not be much faster than an out of the box RTX 4070 Super Founders Edition, but it was $599 versus $620 was the cheapest one I could find at all outside of this one, and that was for a brand that I no longer support, so I wasn't willing to spend the extra money on that. Normally 20 extra bucks for 1-2% boost is okay on this range of a card. I wouldn't personally spend more than about 15 to 20 bucks on the difference, because no matter which 4070 Super you get, you'll gain at the most 5%, and typically it'll be closer to 1 to 3%. So, but let's go ahead and take a look and see what we get for our $600 plus tax. And again, that was at Walmart, so as long as they have them in inventory, you should be able to replicate the price. Apparently, from what I've seen, you can find PNY brand video cards at Walmart if your Walmart carries video cards and other computer parts. PNY does not seem to be common outside of Walmart right now. I didn't see any listings for them but I did narrow it down to just ones in stock. I did not see any on Newegg, and I did not see any on Amazon in stock or out of stock. But the box itself does come sealed. It is not terribly heavy. I'd say between 2 and 5 pounds. It's probably 2 to 3 pounds, but I guess in theory it could be as much as 4 or 5, but I'm going to say probably 2 to 3 pounds. The box is nice. It's got your information over here as far as the fact that of the model number, the part number, the serial number, all that kind of stuff. You've got the information about the fact that it's a PNY Accelerate gaming card, 12 gigabytes of VRAM, uses the Velocity RGB software, it's overclocked by default, and then you have the GeForce RTX 4070 Super down here. And then on the front, you've of course got the normal information. Down here, you've got things along the lines of the FCC regulations and things along those lines. On the back, you've got a breakdown of the key aspects, which does point out that it's built for live streaming. So it's got the software when you load the drivers. It's got the software and hardware to allow you to stream. It's cutting edge GPUs. Of course, they're going to say their stuff's cutting edge, and it generally is. Realistic and immersive graphics, dedicated ray tracing cores. And again, that's marketing for it's got ray tracing cores, not that it's actually any better at rasterization than any other card in this performance level. AI enhanced voice and video from the NVIDIA broadcast. It's basically a streaming software that they include. I've not personally used it, but I do plan on it, but we'll see how that works out. AI accelerated performance through DLSS 3. I personally don't like DLSS. 3 is a little better than 2 in older versions, but it takes away from the quality of the graphics. It does have the game-winning responsiveness from NVIDIA Reflex, and AMD has the same type of software in theirs. Performance and reliability, game-ready, and studio drivers. So it basically has access to gaming drivers that are optimized specifically to play games, and then it has software that's designed for, say, video editing and things along those lines. You can play with the creator drivers installed, and you can create with the gaming drivers installed. My suggestion, if you're going to be doing both, is run the game ready drivers and edit videos or things along those lines, versus running the creator package and then playing games, unless you primarily edit videos, in which case then go with the creator one. But the optimizations are not much of a difference in the creator side, whereas they play a bigger role in the gaming side. So if you're gaming, you will probably notice a few frames of difference going with creator versus gaming, but with the editing videos, you're not going to notice much of a difference in the amount of time that it takes to render the video with the gaming drivers versus with the creator drivers. But all of that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and open this and see what we get in the box. I'm expecting to have a graphics card wrapped in its anti-static bag, as well as an adapter for the 16-pin power for the 12 VHPWR adapter. That way, if you have an older power supply or a non-PCIe 5 power supply, you can run 2 or 3. I'm assuming it's going to be 3, but it may only be 2 adapters from the 8-pin adapters to this adapter, which will then plug into the graphics card. But let's take a look, see what it looks like, see what we get in the box. There may be some paperwork in here. I'm assuming there's not going to be a stand for the graphics card, because the size of this card is actually pretty small. So I don't foresee it actually needing it is sealed, by the way, a stand or a bracket to hold it in place, but we will see. Maybe it does. All right, moment of truth. Here we go. So you have foam cover in it. It is 2 adapters, 2 8-pins into 1 16-pin. And then the graphics card. Now it does apparently also have a quick install guide, which we don't need because graphics cards are actually pretty simple. But there is nothing else in this package other than the foam. So there's no software anymore, and that's been gone for at least a generation now. And the other things like warranties are usually just you go to the website and put in the serial number, so you don't usually need anything for that. The issue that we run into here is that this is a 4070 Super, and the 50 series just got announced for official release and pricing and things like that. I don't recall the exact price, but I believe it's around $700, $600 or $700 for the 5070. The 5080 is supposed to be 4090 level graphics, and that is running about $1,200 MSRP. And the 5090 is supposed to be $2,000 MSRP, which means you're going to see most of the 5090s in the $2,200 plus range, $2,200 to $2,600 as a retail price. However, with the way things have been going recently, you're probably not going to see those for the first 6 to 12 months at those prices. But I don't have any definitive numbers on those yet because the 5090 has not officially released. It releases, I believe, in a week from this video's filming, a week or two, somewhere towards the end of January, and this is the first week of January 7th. So with this, I'm kind of disappointed that they have an aeration hole in here. It looks like it's on both sides. I understand that's to avoid the air bubbles and things like that. However, it kind of defeats the purpose of it being storable and everything. It is a sealed pouch, and then it's got the serial number, PNY information, all the FCC symbols, things like that, the different icons for all the different things like non-recyclable, don't throw it in the trash, that kind of stuff. This one here says electrostatic sensitive devices do not open or handle except at a static-free workstation. Wood top box. It's not really static material, so let's see what we got. So it does have the finger protector on it. You do also have a tape covering all the shroud here. The entire shroud is covered, which is nice. It means no scratches on the shroud until you undo it, and then it'll be your fault. So again, finger protector on the finger. It is an X16 finger for PCIe 4. You've got 3 DisplayPort, 1 HDMI port on the rear panel. It is a 2-slot card, which is nice to see. It is 3 fans, which is awesome. It's not an overly thick heatsink, so take that as it is. It's not going to be super high-end heat dissipation. It is 3 fans. The fans themselves do not have RGB. There are little slashes here that in the shape of an X, and as in XLR8. So the X has RGB to it that is run by the RGB software, which, like I said, should be the, I think it was called Accelerate, or Velocity, sorry, Velocity. It looks like the fans plug in here for the onboard fan header, and then we have RGB cables here. The RGB cables here will run to this here and over here to this. This part here says XLR8, and that is RGB, controllable by the software. The slashes here in the X shape are RGB and controllable by the software. The GeForce RTX here and the GeForce RTX here, the PNY Accelerate Gaming here, none of those are RGB. So you will get a little more out of a vertical mount with this model than you would out of a horizontal. I'm not sure how I'll end up using this yet, probably horizontal, but that will give this area here as RGB, and then the RGB will shine down. You know, I'm gonna say I believe it is metal, but I could be wrong. I have not taken it off, but it has a metallic look to it. I honestly just don't know. I'm gonna say I think it is, though. The material feels more metal than plastic. I'm gonna say I'm 85%, maybe 90% sure. So Again, 2 slots wide. It's not an overly long card, but it is 3 fans, so it should have decent heat dissipation. The 12 VH PWR connection, which is a 16-pin connector. The back plate looks pretty nice. It's got the X16 finger with the protector. It's got socket protectors for the 3 display ports and the 1 HDMI, and it should be in that order: DisplayPort, 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 and HDMI. If I remember correctly, it is not HDMI or DisplayPort 2.1. I believe that it is DisplayPort 1.4a and HDMI 2.0, but I'm not 100% sure. I will edit in the correct versions of those when I edit the video, so you guys can see what the actual DisplayPort and HDMI versions are, revisions are. But overall, it is a, I guess this way for the, when it's plugged in this way, this is the display of it. It looks pretty nice. I'm going to say it's definitely more gamerish than professional, but it's not unprofessional necessarily. So overall, it is a nice looking card, and if I needed one in this budget level, I would have no problem whatsoever buying one of these to use. It is supposed to basically be within like 1% or 2% of a 6950 XT, which is the highest end of the previous generation of the AMD cards. In the 7000 series, I want to say it's a little below a 7800 XT, but I'll try and edit that in as well to make sure that I have that correct. It's just spitballing ideas. The 7900 GRE should be above this. The 7800 XT should be roughly around this in performance, give or take a little bit. The 7900 XT is supposed to be around a 4070 Ti, and the 7900 XTX is supposed to be around a 4080. And since the 4080 Super is only like 1% better than the 4080, which was ridiculous, that one is roughly equal to the 7900 XTX or barely above it in some cases. The 4090 beats everything, including the 7900 XTX. However, I have heard that with some tweaking, some overclocking, you can get close to 4090 performance in certain situations, certain games, running a 7900 XTX, but I don't know for sure. And with the new generation of AMD cards, they're going to switch to the generation and then model number is going to be a little different. Instead of being generation in the thousands and the models in the hundreds, it's going to be the generation in the thousands and hundreds block, and then the generation in the tens block. So it will be very similar to NVIDIA's, just with higher generation numbers. So instead of a 4070, they're going to, instead of 5070, for example, which is going to replace this one, it's going to be a 9060 or a 9070. So I don't personally like the new convention of the naming, but what do I don't have anything to do with it. I don't have any control over it. I think that they were awesome as they are. I guess they're trying to be more competitive, and so they're wanting you to understand 9070 is equivalent to a 5070, 9060 is equivalent to a 5060, that kind of a thing. And even that didn't seem to line up that well on the chart that I did see. But again, that's not what this video is about. This video is about this one. It is a plastic shroud, 3 fans, the 12 VH PWR 16-pin adapter, about center of it, a little bit off center towards the back. You've got the metal backplate, 3 display ports, which again I'll try and label the revision numbers of the HDMI and the display port, but there's 1 HDMI, 3 display port. There's plastic covering the backplate, there's plastic covering the shroud, and overall it does look nice, and I think that in a gaming computer it will be great. In a professional one, not 100% professional, but not hideous or ugly or anything. So I think it'll work for either or. It's up to the individual, and if you do both on your machine, then maybe you want the gaming aesthetics, but you want the performance where you need it, and that's fine. So I do hope this video helped you to decide if this is the right card for you or not. If it did, make sure you hit the like button down below. If you have any questions about myself, the channel, or the product, make sure you leave those in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel over here in this area here, and that way you can keep up to date on our community section and our new videos. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.